You probably haven't heard of him, but Jeremiah Jackson is making noise at AAA, and it's most likely time to say goodbye to Ryan O'Hearn and friends. With 10 days left till the trading deadline, Mike Elias has now made it clear the Orioles are sellers. Who is he focusing on selling? We're going to dig into that on this episode of Orioles Digest. Hello, everybody. I'm Jon Leiberman. 10 days till the deadline. On this episode, we're going to do a deep dive into somebody you may not have heard of, but you should, because this guy is tearing it up at AAA, and what a journey it's been for him. We're going to talk about Jeremiah Jackson, and then Mike Elias with extensive comments about his plans at the trade deadline. He made the comments on MLB Radio. We're going to break them down, and I want to hear from you too. Who do you want to see the Orioles unload at this trade deadline, and what is a fair return for some of these guys? We're going to get into all of that. Again, like, subscribe, do all the things. We're here for a very busy, what will be a very busy trade deadline for the Birds, and then we got to see what the young Birds can do for the rest of this season, if they can make some noise and hopefully gain some momentum as we move into next year. But let's begin with a guy who, chances are you haven't heard of, Jeremiah Jackson. This guy was sort of written off. He was in Double-A for 4 years, didn't make much noise. He got drafted by the Angels in 2018. The Birds picked him up in the offseason when the Mets, let him go. He decided to be a free agent. He last played on the Mets. The Birds picked him up. He was at Double-A again this year, and then in June, he got the call up. He's a second baseman, and that's a whole other discussion. Jackson Holliday, he's not going to have a place at the big league level, but if a guy is good enough, you find a place for him. But since joining AAA Norfolk in June, you got to just look at these numbers for a second. A 1.091 OPS, 10 homers, 14 doubles in 35 games after being called up. And there's a great quote from this guy, because again, stuck in Double-A for 4 years, never climbed beyond that level. In the beginning of June, he got the call, and this is what he actually said. He said it always gives you a little extra motivation. Being in the same league in Double-A, you start to get a little less motivated, but being called up and being around these guys, realizing it could just be a call away, it drives you a little bit more. Well, friends, keep an eye on Jeremiah Jackson, because I'm telling you, this guy is making noise at AAA, and he could be on the call-up list for the Birds. Let's move on. You saw Ryan O'Hearn there. 10 days now till the trade deadline, and I assume we're going to be talking a lot over the next 10 days, because it's going to be a busy time for the Birds. And in Mike Elias's first extensive comments about the deadline, this is what he had to say on MLB Radio. Standing here today, this was yesterday, we're 11 games under 500. It's been a huge disappointment. The reality is, when we're at that point in the standings, and 11 days from the trade deadline, we've got to be realistic. The conversations I'm having right now are more oriented toward what's out there for some of our available major league players. He goes on to say, that's where we're spending our time on. I think the guys that are coming up toward the end of their contracts, those have to be at the top of the list. We have quite a few of them who are very talented and are attractive to other teams. And that is true. The Birds have many solid major leaguers that would be attractive to other teams, especially because outside of the Birds, and the A's and the Sox, everybody's in it in the AL for the most part in terms of the wild card. The wild card's changed everything. And so the Birds have literally 10 players, for example, maybe more, who could be of huge value to teams looking to make a run over the next couple of months in Major League Baseball. And look, the reality is Cedric Mullins this will probably be his last week on the Orioles. and it'll be sad to see him go. It'll be sad to see all the guys go because the expectations were high this year, and they just didn't come to fruition. And so let's look at the guys. I call it bye-bye birdie. These are the guys most likely who won't be in Orioles uniforms 10 days from now. You have the all-star Ryan O'Hearn. You have Ceddy, who's been here and been through the rebuild last time. Zach Eflin, who came and had to be thrust into that ace position with Grayson Rodriguez being hurt. Eflin has been, struggling with injuries. You have Tomoyuki Sagano, who obviously was a rental. Charlie Morton, who's looked much better of late. Sir Anthony Dominguez and Greg Soto in that bullpen. And just this list right here, the Birds could get back a huge haul for this. And I think the mix for Mike Elias is going to be who can help this team win in 2026 versus who can help this team win beyond. Because at this point, I think the Orioles have to make some splashy moves this offseason coming up, especially in the starting pitching department, to win in 2026 because this season was so disappointing. But again, these guys could bring major holes. Ryan O'Hearn can slot right into the middle of any lineup in the American League. Ceddy, reliable in the outfield. You're going to want his defense. If Eflin gets healthy, we know what he can do. Sagano has shown flashes. Morton, though he's old, obviously has been outstanding over the past 6 weeks. Dominguez and Soto could bolster any bullpen just for the same reason why the Orioles picked them up at the end of last season or toward the end of last season. So this is a situation we're at. Before I let you go, I do want to show you, because I mentioned at the top of this broadcast a kid that you probably haven't heard of, Jeremiah Jackson. I want to show you some tape of him before we get back to who the Orioles are going to deal. Let's see if we have that tape. This is Jackson. Just watch this. Boom. Again, a shot to left. The guy is absolutely just tearing it up at AAA. The first time he's ever been given the opportunity. He's now been up for 6 weeks. And in those 6 weeks, 10 homers. 14 doubles, and his defense is solid as well. Who do you think the Birds should deal? What is fair for them to get back for these players on expiring contracts, these players who will be rentals for whatever team they go to? I want to hear from you. I'm Jon Leiberman. This is Orioles Digest.